Hello students, this side Meena. I hope you all are fit and fine. So today we will move with the next topic, that is alternative paradigms of research. Paradigms mean to say the patterns and the models for research. There are some another patterns that we will discuss today. Till the 20th century, psychology just restrict itself to the study of overt behavior. Overt behavior, as we have already read, that it is that type of behavior that could be observed or measured, but it cannot focus on the covert behavior like our personal feelings and experiences. But in recent years, a different method known as interpretive has emerged. It emphasizes understanding over explanation and prediction. It also takes the stand in understanding the complex and variable nature of human behavior and experiencing. This viewpoint of this method mainly gave the importance of that how human beings give meaning to the events and actions and how they interpret them. That's why this method is known as an interpretive method. In this we take some personal experiencing and personal motives of the person, like if person is experiencing suffering due to external factors, like for example people affected by tsunami, earthquake and so on, or internal factors also like prolonged illness is there, then what is the experience that person is getting from this type of things. We try out to find the causes and the experiencing of the person under this alternative paradigms of research. Everyone interprets reality in their own ways, that is based on their past experiences. So therefore there is a need to understand the subjective interpretation of the reality also. Both scientific and interpretive traditions are concerned with studying behavior and the experiencing of others. Like you may also ask some question to you that why I am feeling sad. Sometimes you take a pledge that you will control your diet or devote more time to study, but it actually comes to eating or study, you forget about your pledge. So why these things are happening with you, why you are not able to control your behavior? Psychological inquiry is the aim to understanding the self by reflecting on one's own experiences and insights. So in this we discuss about one method, that is the interpretive method, that more focus on the experiencing of the person, that why these things are happening with the person, and all these things can be subjective in the nature because every person has their own experiencing. So our next topic is nature of psychological data, that what type of psychological data we use in our research. Psychologists and research collect a variety of information from different sources by using different methods, like we have little bit studied earlier also. So this data is related with the individual's covert and overt behavior, their subjective experiences, mental process. Data is a very important input in psychological inquiry because all the result that we are going to conclude, all the theories that we are going to make, that is totally depend on our data. We should understand that data are not independent of the physical or social context, the person involved and the time when the person behave. It is totally depend on the situations also. Like you may feel hesitate to talk in front of your parents and teachers, but not when you are with your friends. So the time also matter and the situations also matter, that how you are behaving. So our data also vary according to this. There are so many methods of data collection like survey, interview, experiment that we used, and characteristics of the respondent also matters. We are doing our study individually or in a group, on the young people or the old. So all these things influence the nature and the quality of the data. Another important feature of the data is that it does not speak itself about the reality. We analyze it, after that the conclusion drawn from that data, and after that the research attach meaning to the data by placing it in its proper context. Now there are different type of data as the information that we mainly contact. Some of these types are, first one is the demographic information. This information generally include personal information. Here you should underline one keyword, that in this we include personal information, like what is the age, gender, birth order, how many number of siblings are there, what is the education, occupation, marital status, etc. Next one is the physical information. As the name already suggests that it is related with the physical environment, ecological conditions, like the conditions are hilly, desert or forest, what is the mode of economy, what is the condition of the house, and what is the size of the rooms. All these things we include here. Next one is the physiological data. In some studies, physical, physiological and psychological data are collected. It is related with the height, weight, heart rate, blood oxygen level, reaction time, duration of sleep, blood pressure. All these things we include in this. Last one is our psychological information. This information is related with the areas such as intelligence, personality, interest, value, creativity, psychological disorders and some type of subjective experiences and so on. In the form of the categories, we also use some type of test that provide the respondent to respond in a high or low, yes or low. We also use some type of rank tools that are in ordinal form on the scales. So we also use some type of verbal reports, observation records, personal diaries, field notes for collecting the different type of data. Such type of information that we are collecting by using these type of tools or methods. This all type of information that we are analyzing separately. In this we use some type of qualitative methods. Our next topic is some important methods in psychology. As I think till the time you could understand that data is a very important aspect in psychological research. So all these varieties of data cannot be collected through a single method of inquiry. Psychologists use a variety of methods that we will read now. The aim of this section is to guide you to select the methods which may be appropriate for different research purpose. So in this, our first one is observation method. Observation is a very powerful tool of psychological inquiry. It is an effective method also for describing the behavior. Like you have seen that in our daily life, we remain busy with observing numerous things throughout the day. We do not even sometimes take notice that what we are watching and what we have seen. If you carefully observe a person or event for some time, then definitely you will come to know about many interesting things about the person or the event. Here one thing should be noticed: scientific observation differ from day-to-day observation. In this, our first step is select. Psychologists do not observe all the behavior. They merely select one particular behavior that is more needed for their study and they go with that perspective only. After that, selecting the one particular behavior, they come to the next step, that is recording. While the researcher is observing, he records all the behavior by taking notes in which he describe each activity in greater detail, or some type of by using shorthand or symbols, photographs, video recording, etc. Our last point is here analysis of data. After the observations have been made, psychologist analyzes whatever he has recorded with the view to derive some meaning from it. It is important to know that making good observation is also a skill. A good observation only know that what he is looking for and whom he should observe and when and where. All these things needs a skill to understand the behavior. In this also we have a types of behavior. First one is naturalistic and controlled observation. Second one is non-participant and participant observation. As the name suggests that naturalistic observation is always done in the natural settings or real life settings. This type of observation is mostly conducted in hospitals, homes, schools, daycare centers, etc. Some type of observation is also made that is also known as a controlled laboratory observation. These things we use in the natural settings, but for this we have to control some causes. Like if we want to study the behavior of the smoking person, then we can't allow the smoking in an open area. For that behavior we should create some type of environment in which we can control some variables. Our next one is the non-participant and participant observation. As the name suggests, non-participant observation is that when the observer observe the person or any event from the distance. On the other hand, in the participant observation, the observer want to become the part of the one particular group that he is going to observe. In the non-participant observation, that is our first case. In this, maybe the observer to whom the researcher is going to observe, he is not aware that the someone is going to observe him, so it will be done in a natural way. For this, as example is given, that if we want to study the pattern of interaction between the teachers and the students in a particular class, then there are so many ways for observing this thing. Like we can install a video camera to record the classroom activities. So the person who is going to research this behavior, they can decide to sit in a corner of the class without interfering or participating in their everyday activities. This type of observation is known as a non-participant observation. In the participant observation, the observer will try to become a part of the school or the group of the people being observed. In participant observation, the observer takes some time to establish a rapport with the group, so that the group start accepting him as one of the group member. There are so many benefits or advantage of the observation method, like it enable the researcher to study people and their behavior in the natural settings. But on the other hand, this observation method is very labor intensive. We need so many people for this, and it is also very time consuming. And the observation that the researcher has made, it also includes some observers bias. Bias mean to say, when we try to put our own subjectivity in our result, our observation is also influenced by our values and the beliefs about the person to whom we are going to observe and the particular event. Like there is a one popular notion, we see the things as we are and not as things are. So the subjectivity on the part of the observer is one of the drawback of the observation method. Our next method is experimental method. This method is generally conduct to establish cause and effect relationship between the two sets of events or the variables in controlled setting. We're going to do some type of experiment, so the situation should be controlled. In this, we try to understand that if there is a one change in the one factor, then how this change is affecting the another factor. We will understand the cause and effect relationship. In the experiment, cause is the event that is being changed or manipulated, but effect is the behavior that changes because of the manipulation. Under this, firstly, we will discuss about our concept, the concept of variable. An object by itself is not a variable, but its attribute are. Like the pen that you are using for writing is not a variable, but there are variety of pens available in different shapes, size and colors. These shape, size and colors are the variables of the pen. Next one example you can take, like there is a room is not a variable, but size of the room is a variable. Like this, intelligence is a variable. There are people with varying level of intelligence, some are high, some are moderate and some are low. In the same manner, the presence and the absence of the person in the room is also a variable. There are so many variables, but mainly we will talk about in our topic two variables, that is independent and the dependent. Independent variable is that variable which can be manipulated or altered by the researcher, like in the experiment conducted by Layton and the Darley. In this, the researcher wanted to examine the effect of the presence of the other person when they report the smoke. Here the independent variable is the presence and the absence of the person in the room. The variable on which the effect of independent variable is observed, that is known as a dependent variable. It is expected that if we do some change in the independent variable, then definitely it will affect the dependent variable. Frequency of reporting of smoke in the above case was the dependent variable. Therefore, the independent variable is the cause and the dependent variable the effect in any experimental situation. These two variables are interdependent. Our next topic is experimental and control group. Before doing this topic, you should understand one experimental that is done by the Darley and the Biblatene in 1970. You can see this in the box number 2.1. This is an example of experiment. In order to participate in the study, the student of the Columbia University individually arrive at a laboratory. They were given the impression that they would be interviewed on a certain topic. That's why each student was sent to the waiting room to complete a preliminary questionnaire before the interview that is given to them. Some of them found that two other people already seated in the room while others sat down alone. After some time, students had started working on their questionnaire. In a meanwhile, smoke began filling the room through a wall vent. The smoke could hardly ignored because within few minutes the room contained enough smoke to interfere with the vision and the breathing. Charlie was primarily interested in knowing how frequently students simply got up and left the room to report the emergency. This was main objective for doing the experiment. After this experiment, they came to know that most of the students, that is the 70%, who were waiting alone reported the smoke more, but those who reporting in groups were far less. Group consisting of 3 native students reported it only 38% of the time, when the student waited with the other who were instructed beforehand by the researcher to do nothing, they report only 10%. So this was the experiment to know about the frequency of reporting the smoke. So now we will discuss about this topic, that is experimental and control group. Generally in the experiment, one or more experimental group or one or more control group were included. The control group is a comparison group that is treated in every way like the experimental group, but still there is an exception of manipulated variable that is absent in control group. We always manipulate the variable in our experimental group. Like we have already done that in the study of experimental group and one control group, the participant in the study were sent to 3 types of room. In one room no one was present, that is known as a control group. In the other 2 rooms 2 persons were already seated, that is our experimental group. Out of these 2 experimental group, one group was instructed to do nothing when the smoke will be in the room. The other group was not given any instruction. After the experiment manipulation, the performance of the control group measured in terms of reporting of smoke was compared with that of the experimental group. It was found that the control group participant reported the maximum number about the emergency, followed by the first experimental group where the participant were not given any instruction. So it should be noted in an experiment that except for the experimental manipulation, other conditions are always kept constant for both the control and experimental group. Like some variables are same. For example, the speed with which smoke started entering the room, the total amount of the smoke in the room, physical and other condition of the room were similar in case of all the 3 groups. Now the question arises that how the participant distribution was done in the experimental and control group. Actually it is done randomly. Randomly is a method that ensure that each person has a equal chance of being included in any of the group. The method randomly used because if in one group the experimental only include male and in another group we include the females, then the result obtained in the study will be differ because of the gender. There are of the 3 major types variable that we should taken care of when we are doing the experimental, like organismic variables. In this we should take care of the anxiety, intelligence and personality. After that the environmental variables, that there should be no noise, temperature and about the humidity also. Our last one is the sequential variables. The sequence related variables are more significant when the participant in the experiment are required to be tested in several conditions. If there is a exposure of so many conditions before the experiment, then the experimental can create fatigue which may influence the result of the study and make the interpretations of the finding very difficult. In order to control these relevant variables, experiment use some control techniques, like if the experiment minimize these extraneous variables, mean to say the extra or external variables that can affect our study. So the best way to handle this problem to eliminate them for the experimental settings, like to avoid the effect of noise and temperature, the experimental can conduct the experiment in soundproof or air conditioned room. Like elimination is not always a possible. For these cases, effort should be made to hold them constant so that their effect remain the same throughout the experiment. For controlling the organismic like the fear or motivation or the background variables like caste or social economic status, matching is also used. In this, the same variables equally distributed in the two groups. Our next one is the counterbalancing technique. It is used to minimize the sequence effect. Mean to say we are not taking the person in the sequence for our study. Suppose there are the two tasks to be given in an experiment. Rather than giving the two tasks in the same sequence, we interchange the order of the task. Like half of the group may receive the task in order to A and B, while the other half in order of B and A. Like example, that in the one group we will include the student 1 to 20. This is the one sequence, and the another group, in group B, we will take the student from 40 to 21 instead of taking student from 21 to 40. So our next one is the random assignment of the participant. In this, we take randomly participant for different group so that we can eliminate any potential systematic difference between the group. So this is about the experimental group. The experimental group also has some limitation, like experiment may produce result that do not generalize well and we cannot apply them in real situation. Another limitation, that laboratory experiment, it is not always feasible to study a particular problem experimentally. The third problem, that it is difficult to know and control all the relevant variables that are affecting our research in the experiment. So our next topic is field experiment and quasi experiments. If a researcher want to have high generalizability or to conduct studies which are not possible in laboratory setting, then he is having the option to go the field or the natural setting where the particular phenomena actually exist. This type of study we known as a field experiment. For example, if a researcher want to know which method would lead to better learning among students, lecture or demonstration method, for this a researcher may prefer to conduct experiment in the school. In such type of experiments, the control over relevant variable is less, and there is another limitation also, that it is more time consuming and expensive. Many variables cannot be manipulated in the laboratory setting. Like if you want to study the effect of an earthquake on the children who lost their parents, we cannot create this type of condition artificially in the laboratory, and it is very hard to arouse this type of emotions also in that children who lost their parents. In such situations, the research adopts the method of quasi, the Latin word meaning as if. In such type of experiments, the independent variable is selected rather than manipulated by the experiment. Here our independent variable will be the children who have lost their parents in the experiment, and in the control group we will take that children who experienced the earthquake but did not lose their parents. So a quasi experiment attempts to manipulate an independent variable in a natural setting using natural occurring group to the form experiment and control group. So that's all for in this video. In next video we will move with our next topics. Till the time, try to understand them by reading thoroughly. Thank you.